Hi guys, it's Barb from St. James. I'm really happy to have an opportunity to talk with you during this Advent. I had a chance to listen to what Daryl spoke about last week, and he talked about that Advent is always, and I would like to extend that a little bit, that Christmas is always. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that, and there are going to be three components to what I'd like to share with you today. First, I'd like to share about change and Eucharist, and then Advent and Scripture, and then about prayer. We'll end with prayer. I think it's important for me to share my enthusiasm with you about the changes that happened 40 years ago. I was your age, and I had grown up in a church where the priest made no connection with us. We made no connection with the people sitting on either side of us. The people we looked at, there was the back of their heads that we looked at. We had what we called a bowling alley church in those days. The language is something we couldn't understand. But for me, I loved the music. The choirs were big. Couldn't understand the language of the choir, but the harmony was beautiful. And so going to church for 20 years and not knowing what was going on was fine with me, because at my parish in a small community, the music was beautiful. When I went away to college, was your age, all of a sudden the altar came out, Father turned around and looked at us. We could be actually lectors. We could greet the people as they were coming in. And when Father said, "The Lord be with you," we said, "and also with you." There was a relational exchange. I also learned at that time that Jesus was truly human, which is about what this preparation of Advent and Christmas is all about. And that just opened up a whole new world for me, to realize that Jesus was like me, experienced fear, experienced anger, experienced love and compassion and frustration, and all of that. That was God's gift to us, himself as a human being. And so the changes in the church for me were wonderful, because all of a sudden the music we sang made some sense. The words made some sense. And I jumped into being part of scripture study and part of liturgical ministries, hook, line, and sinker. And that's why today I'm so enthusiastic about it. When you guys have come forward to serve as ushers or greeters or lectors, it's wonderful to see our young people doing that. And so again now, you will experience some changes. When you come home, Father will say, "The Lord be with you," and we will say, "and with your spirit." And the changes are, somewhat frustrating and concerning to many. But I think when it comes to understanding what we are all about when we come and celebrate Mass, or like I like to call Eucharist, we're really about us. We're about Jesus, who hosts this gathering, this meal, and calls us all together to be us, to be him in the world. And that's what the scripture readings are this coming week too. We are studying Mark, and this week, the second Sunday of Advent, it says the beginning of the gospel according to Jesus Christ, the Son of God, according to Mark. And Mark goes right back to Isaiah and talks about how I will send someone mightier than thou. So what image do we get? I will send someone mightier than thou. We are not worthy to loose his sandal straps, We think of this big king, we think of this mighty God. But what and how does Jesus show himself? In the humblest of forms, as a baby, an infant, totally dependent on the love of other people. And we look through his life then when he began to teach us how to be loving, compassionate, understanding. Not for those who are the easiest to love and understand and have compassion for, but the most difficult ones. And so what we want to do then when we gather for this Eucharistic celebration is do like he did in gathering those people together, this community, and we listen to the stories. And those are the stories of the second week of Advent. Also in the scripture, you will hear where it says the highways, the rough ways will be made plain. And certainly as college kids, there are rough times. And certainly we have issues with our peers sometimes. This person did that or that person did that, you know, or we have fear over a test coming up and it was either difficult or we didn't study for it as well as we could have. So those are all situations where we are kind of in the valley. And then we have those Advent awakenings. If we believe and we know that we are created in the image and likeness of God, then we have to believe that God is in us. And that's where I'd like to talk a little bit about our prayer. I used to babble on about prayer. Jesus, God, help me to do this, help me to do that, help me to be a better person, all kind of words, words, words. Recently, I've been trying very hard to do more listening. And I think Advent is a time to help us look at that kind of a prayer experience. We don't have an elsewhere God. We don't have a God that we have to call down or call over or come into our lives. God is always in each and every one of us if we believe that we are created in His image. And so being quiet perhaps is a good technique, to be quiet, to listen, to look for the opportunities, to listen to how we can make straight a highway for our God, for today, at this time. And so maybe we can ask ourselves, how do we live the Jesus story? The story of love and compassion. Every time we see somebody carrying books and somebody drops something, or even a handicapped person who needs a little extra help opening a door, or an elderly person, or getting someone on a bus or off a bus. Anytime we look for those opportunities, we can find them all around us. And that's what it means to live the Jesus story. And so I guess today I would ask you to stop, to look around, and to listen, and then to live the Jesus story being born in us today. Thanks a lot. Happy Advent.